This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings. Greetings. Come on in. Welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. We're going to keep going on this amazing journey that we're on, understanding who, what, when, where, how, why, about specific dynamics in our country. We've got our beautiful flag behind us that represents our nation. We've got our presidential seal that reminds us to pray for the president of our nation, the vice president, their families, the cabinet, their families, the leadership thereof. And we just got, prayer is important. Yes, it is. We got to keep supporting each other in prayer at a minimum, all of our fellow Americans. You know, I'm going to always remember the ones that were working last year, 265,900,000 working Americans that were working paycheck to paycheck last year, 78% of them that could barely make ends meet. Things are changing. Currently, it's about a 65%. I'm going to keep monitoring that because I want to get it. Boy, it'd be awesome if it get down to the point that 30% are living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. I'm believing and praying that we're going to continually see these numbers decrease. We have new leadership in our country. We just got a lot of dynamics going on with leadership, period. And so there are issues that come up that we need understanding about instead of being jerked around by emotions and emotionality and manipulation. And I used to be one that was jerked around in that way. And when I started understanding logic and deductive reasoning and looking at history that was accurately told, I've never been the same since. And the ones that manipulated and control me, they don't anymore. And so I just want to be a part of the answer, a part of the support of my fellow Americans. Really, I don't care a whole lot about political parties anymore. I care about America, our posterity. All of these agendas, grown folk can do what you want to do. You got to decide how you're going to answer to God for it. He says in the book I read and live by, he says, Janice, you're going to give an account for what you do in your body. You got to decide if that applies to you. But I tell you who I am going to stand up for. Look, grown people, you make your own decisions, but who I'm going to stand up for are those who are defenseless and can't stand up for themselves, and those are children, vulnerable children, our posterity. I have a big concern for them, and I know it's my heart, it's what God's called me to do. Worked as a teacher, school psychologist, always worked with kids, worked as a psychiatric counselor with kids that were so degraded, so abused, so ashamed, so degraded that they had to be hospitalized. And they taught me a lot. And I am their advocate. I'm a fan for them. I'm an advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves. And so part of that is a lot of times understanding the dynamics that contributes to how they even got the way they are. Clinical perspective, spiritual truths, a way to think in terms of getting well. We can get well. I want America well. If I had my way, everybody would get 10 counseling sessions. It'd be a part of your lifetime benefits because the therapeutic process is powerful. And if you decide that that's something you need and you could benefit from, you can go to JanicePons.com, go to the resource page, and you can see how you can find a clinician, a skilled, trained person that can help you if you need support and help. And it's just so powerful what I've seen to happen in people's lives when they avail themselves to that. I know what happened to me when I availed myself to that after being traumatized, abused, and so many other things. God is faithful and he works through people. And it's just a powerful, that structure to help our souls get well. Our soul is our mind, our will, our emotions, our intellect, our drive, and our desires. And so tonight we're going to examine some things as it relates to our country. We got a lot at stake. We got a lot going on. And so we're going to examine something that has generated a lot of discussion in our nation about our nation. our America. I said that one time to somebody, this black gentleman. He said, "You don't have no America. You ain't nothing but a slave." I said, "Well, my great grandmother was born a slave. My daddy was born on a plantation as a sharecropper, had to quit school in the 6th grade. I went through Jim Crow. But, I was like, you know what? That's not my lot in life to live this victim mentality that you're trying to perpetrate upon me. It is a part of I am a part of America. It is our America. I take ownership of it. Why? I've contributed. Imagine that. Contributing. Solutions, strategies, skills, tools, showing up. Contributing, participating, instead of being a victim and thinking somebody owe me something. You owe about all I owe anybody, and what we owe each other is to pray for each other and encourage each other to take advantage of opportunities. Yeah, our America. And so all that ties in directly with our clinical perspective, which is talking about the power of compliance, because there are things set up in structured systems that if we don't comply, we don't get to participate. We don't get to reap the benefits thereof. So we're going to explore this together, my fellow Americans and my brothers and sisters. Remember, we're going somewhere and it's expecting us when we get there. Come and go with me. Delia Ramirez, an anchor baby who's married to an undocumented alien, is a congresswoman in Illinois who is a member of the congressional group called the Squad. Y'all heard of the Squad? The Squad is an informal, progressive, and left-wing faction of the Democratic caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives. Members of the Squad are all members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. The Squad comprises the furthest left faction of the Democratic caucus. They have a reputation of being loud and obnoxious. It's easy to prove. They often present as many things being driven by socialism and race. Racism and socialism and even Marxism and even communism. The ideology of those things drives them. Apparently married to an illegal alien, denaturalized, her husband benefited from a new program that was created by Joe Biden that created a pathway to legal status for spouses of U.S. citizens who've lived in the country, the United States of America, for more than 10 years. Now, here's the deal. If you live in a given country, you don't go to that country. Look, what would we look like as Americans? We're going to go to a foreign country and we're going to show up and we're going to cause a ruckus and we're going to slam said country. But that's what's going on here. Here's the question of the century. Do we as Americans go over to those countries and do that? Let that marinate. Earlier this year, the second annual Pan-American Congress brought leftist officials from all over North and South America to Mexico City. Those in attendance, we're talking about who, what, when, where, how, why. Not just being driven by emotions. Not just being manipulated and controlled by the Democratic Party or the Republican Party for that matter. I'm talking about facts. Who, what, when, where, how, why. Why should we understand this? Because it is front and center in our faces. At this second annual Pan-American Conference, it's actually called a Congress. It was called the Pan-American Congress. Those in attendance included Democratic lawmakers, Representative Ilhan, that's her name, Ilhan, is Ilhan is her name. Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, Rashid Tlaib of Michigan, Ayanna Presley of Massachusetts, Summer Lee of Pennsylvania, and Jesus Gilberto Garcia and Delia Ramirez of Illinois. They make up the squad. That the squad is a part of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and you have the Black Congressional Caucus, of which they don't allow any conservative Black Congress people to even be a part of that. Let that marinate. During Ramirez's remarks at the opening of the event, she spoke about the Trump administration's illegal immigration crackdown and her own ancestry. Now, she is in this country, and this is what she said: "I am a proud Guatemalan before I am an American." She said that in Spanish. The Congresswoman also went on to accuse the United States of prioritizing imperialism, militarization, conquest, control, and competition in its attempt at domination. Now, when you're going to be a leader, you might be accused of being a dominating force. Something to think about. So, representative, now she's a representative, works on Capitol Hill in the United States of America. Delia Ramirez, Representative Delia Ramirez of Illinois, an open borders Democrat who sits on the House Border Security and Enforcement Subcommittee. She spoke to fellow leftists in Mexico City at that Pan American Congress. It was a 3-day meeting opened by former M19 terrorist turned Colombian President Gustavo Petro. That's who was there. Now, she's a representative of Illinois. Her interests are supposed to be in America. Open borders is huge for Ms. Ramirez. Let's just we're framing some things here. Ramirez has called for the defunding of the United States and Customs enforcement. She wants it defunded. Suggested that the lawmakers and leaders headed to the convention seek to take up various challenges supposedly affecting the Western Hemisphere, including democratic backsliding. This is what she called it. She said, we're participating in democratic backsliding, climate crisis, deep poverty, political violence, and family displacement. That's what the focus needs to be. In her speech at the conference, Ramirez, Democrat out of Illinois, revealed where her true loyalties lie, telling fellow travelers in Spanish, "I am a proud Guatemalan before I am an American." Remember that this Congresswoman is on Capitol Hill in our nation, in our nation's capital. The White House condemned her remarks as well as her fellow Democrats, the squad, they all had something to say. The mindset of those Democrats and their position regarding this nation, it has to be taken seriously, guys. They're up there making laws. She wants open borders. Far too many of them want to literally destroy this nation, and they've even talked about it. White House spokesperson Liz Huston has stated that these Democrats' comments have been described as despicable and underscore their commitment to putting Americans last. In stark contrast, President Trump is working tirelessly to secure peace deals, deport illegal alien criminals, and advance America's interests at home and abroad. The summit was organized by the leader of Progressive International, a radical left-wing group that describes capitalism as a virus that must be eradicated. So we're talking about business building, the trillions of dollars being invested in our nation by Japan and Microsoft and all of these wonderful investments, the United Arab Emirates and all of these people investing in our nation. They said it's a virus that needs to be eradicated. And they're also in partnership with Morena, M-O-R-E-N-A, which is Mexico's ruling left-wing party, focusing on left-wing populism, progressivism, and social democracy. They all down there gathered together, and we had representatives from Capitol Hill, representatives from the United States, the squad down there talking about what needs to be eradicated in our nation. Capitalism, where businesses thrive, where we get away from 78% of working Americans living paycheck to paycheck and barely making ends meet. Guys, do you hear what I'm saying? Do you get the understanding? Do you understand the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, and the why? Guys, if we have people on Capitol Hill who disregard the cultural preservation of our nation, that's a huge issue. The cultural preservation of our nation is vital for our nation's well-being, encompassing the protection of its history. Is it perfect? No. Traditions, are they worth protecting? And values, which contributes to national identity, social cohesion, and economic development. Imagine if we supported each other in that. National identity as Americans, social cohesion, and economic development. It strengthens a sense of belonging, promotes tourism, and can even play a role in national security. This is why basic compliance is vital. In simple terms, compliance is the act of following a specific set of rules, laws, or standards. Our country will implode without basic rules, laws, or standards. This is why we have been in such a tailspin. This is why we were in a tailspin in our nation. It was willfully perpetrated. The Obama-Biden-Harris cabal operated in a way that ignored rules, laws, and standards. This is what President Trump walked into. Compliance ensures that an organization's actions and operations are in line with external regulations, such as government laws, internal policies, like company and or national guidelines. Guys, this is order. We were in chaos, willy-nilly, flying by the seat of our pants. This adherence helps businesses avoid legal trouble, fines, and damage to their reputation. Oh yeah, we need these things in place, guys. We need these things in place. Yes, we do. You see how far off track we were? Cultural preservation is important. In fact, it's vital and imperative. Here's a more detailed look at the national interest in cultural preservation. It fosters strengthening national identity and social cohesion. cultural heritage, including traditions, customs, and cultural, historical sites. Remember, they were tearing things down. Okay. This is what was going on. This plays a crucial role in shaping a nation's identity and fostering a sense of unity among its citizens. They were tearing down statues in the South. We didn't have a problem with them things being in the South, but you had BLM and all. They tore down Frederick Douglass. They tore down all kind of statues. It's part of our history. And this art, I don't agree with certain artwork not being on display. I can see in national parks certain things not being there, but in the African American Museum, now according to their spokespeople, that there was artwork that's rotated. But we need to keep slavery, as that's a part of our history. Any attempt, my opinion, to water that down, I don't agree with it, because we have come a long way, and it is a part of our history. By preserving these elements, a nation can reinforce its shared values and promote social cohesion. That's where we are. This is where we are now. That's where we were then. Look at how far we've come. But you got people that want to stay camped out back there and remain eternal victims. I'm not for that. I'm not for it. No, I'm not. And I never will be, because we've come a long way. Promoting, what about economic development? What about that? Cultural heritage tourism in particular can be a significant economic driver. A significant driver. Oh, yeah. This generates jobs and revenue for for local communities, builds socialism and social networks. Furthermore, preserving cultural sites and traditions can enhance a nation's image and attract investment. Then there's fostering international relations. Cultural exchange programs and the preservation of shared cultural heritage can strengthen diplomatic ties and promote peaceful cooperation between nations. They want to come here. They want to be a part of things. What about ensuring a sense of belonging and continuity? Cultural preservation helps future generations connect with their past. That's what I'm talking about. I don't want to forget what happened in the past, but I'm not going to live back there. But it teaches me how far I come. My great-grandmother was a slave. Daddy was a sharecropper, born on a plantation. I'm not going to forget that. I'm not going to forget that I survived Jim Crow. But that connection is not going to keep me as an eternal victim. It emboldens my heritage. It makes me want to empower my posterity, our posterity, and appreciate the values and traditions that have shaped us. What about the contribution to national security? Looting and trafficking of cultural artifacts can fund illegal activities and contribute to instability. Protecting cultural heritage sites and artifacts can help reduce security threats and safeguard national interests. I love going to Washington, D.C. Oh God, it's amazing. If you haven't been, go to the African American Museum, the Holocaust Museum, the Smithsonian Institutes. It is amazing. I love it. The Library of Congress is amazing. Finally, there's a need for supporting sustainable development. Do you think that's important in our nation? Cultural heritage conservation can contribute to sustainable development by enhancing a sense of identity and well-being, promoting community involvement, and fostering a sense of connection with the past. What have we looked at tonight? Listen, our America. Oh yes, our America. I was born here. My ancestors were born in the Congo. Thank God I wasn't born over there. I have no desire to go to Africa. There are some people say, we need to go to the motherland. Have at it. Y'all go on. I'll meet you when you come back. I don't have a desire to go over there. I love America, as imperfect as it is. I love America. And there's a need to sustain key components of this nation. And our clinical perspective was exploring the power of compliance, guys. If we don't comply, our nation's going to implode. We have to have law and order. These systems and these organizational structures are put in place to preserve our nation. Guys, we were all over the place. They were tearing down stuff and burning down stuff. They're from the pits of hell, and we got to call it for what it is. Our security was willfully and totally compromised, and we simply can't have it. That's why we have so many people that like President Trump, he wants to make us safe. He wasn't playing. And there's wisdom and compliance and all of that. Listen, we're going to keep talking about these things. Yes, we are. We're going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there. And we do have our America, and there are people that love America. They love it so much that they won't leave. And people love it so much that they want to get in here. That says it all. Listen, guys, keep coming back. We're going to keep talking about these things. I love America. I love y'all. I love your children. I have a special heart towards these precious children. I do. And you know I do. So God bless you. And listen, we're one nation. Yes, we are. Forming a more perfect union, meaning us flowing together as one as we go from destruction to dignity, clinical perspectives, a way of thinking, structured strategies, skills, tools, supporting each other, loving each other, praying for each other as we support our great nation, our America. Yes, 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 our America, as represented by our flag, praying for our president, our cabinet, the people on Capitol Hill, and those ones that went up to, to that place, praying that the eyes of their understanding would be enlightened, that they would know the hope of God's calling for every area of their life and the greatness of America. I will see you next week, guys. I appreciate you. Love you. See you later. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication.